Effective immediately, Sterling Dynamics and Vance Trust Group are merged. I am Aurora Vance, and I am in control now.
He divorced her to marry his secret lover, unaware his wife was pregnant with twins and had just inherited a $200 million fortune. Liam Sterling signed the divorce papers with a smirk, believing he was finally free from the barren wife who could never give him an heir. To him, Aurora was a burden, too soft, too faithful, too ordinary for the ambitious man he wanted to become. But as he slipped a diamond ring on his secret lover's finger, Liam had no idea that Aurora, the woman he tossed aside like dust, was already pregnant with twins. 2 innocent lives carrying his name, growing quietly beneath a heart he once called empty. Nor did he know that the very same week he left her, destiny handed Aurora a fortune worth $200 million, tied to a hidden inheritance her late mother had sealed away for her protection. In one cruel twist of fate, the barren wife he abandoned became the powerful heirs he could never reach again. So what happens when the man who divorced his wife to marry his secret lover discovers she wasn't barren at all, that she bore him twins and inherited a fortune greater than his entire empire? When the woman he humiliated rises from the ashes with 2 children and 200 million reasons never to look back. And what will Liam do when he realizes Aurora's next move isn't forgiveness, but something far more shocking? Hello, family. Welcome back. Before we begin, please click subscribe. Every single click helps us tell stories of courage and truth. And in the comments, tell us where you're watching from. Because when we share these stories together, we remind each other that even in pain, we can rise. The sound of a slammed door echoed through the Sterling manor like thunder. A glass of orange juice trembled on the dining table. Morning light sliced through half-closed blinds, falling across Aurora Sterling's tired face. She stood frozen, clutching the edge of the counter, her eyes following her husband's shadow as he storms toward the garage. Liam Sterling, 38, crisp suit, silver cufflinks, perfect smile for everyone but her. Aurora, 33, soft-spoken, still in her pale nightgown, smelling of detergent and prayer oil. "Liam, you forgot your coffee," she said, her voice gentle. He didn't turn. "I don't need it." The car engine roared. Then silence filled the house again, the kind of silence that hurts. 7 years earlier, rain poured outside the university hall the night Aurora met him. Liam's shirt was soaked, his wallet empty, his eyes full of dreams. She smiled, offered her umbrella, and later sold her gold bracelet to pay his last semester's tuition. He promised her forever. She believed him. Back to present forever now looked like a kitchen full of untouched breakfast and loneliness. Aurora moved quietly, folding the newspaper, smoothing the wrinkles in his shirt like she'd done 1,000 times before. Her fingers brushed against a small note she had placed earlier, inside his briefcase. "I believe in you," she sighed. "Maybe that's the problem. I believe too much." Your stomach churned suddenly. She pressed her hand against it. A quick twist of nausea. She blamed the tea, not knowing fate had already begun to change. The phone rang. It was Mrs. Sterling, Liam's mother. Sharp voice, cold as glass. "Still no news, Aurora? Still no child? My son needs an heir. A real woman would have given him one by now." Aurora swallowed her pain. "God's timing is perfect, ma'am. So is a divorce." The older woman snapped and hung up. Aurora stood motionless, tears gathering but refusing to fall. Her home was beautiful but empty, like a hotel built for someone else's happiness. Every corner of that house told a story. The couch where they once planned their future, the wall where she hung their wedding photo. In the picture, Liam was already looking away. She whispered to the frame, "What happened to us?" Outside, a flock of doves flew past the window. Inside, one woman's hope still fluttered weakly. Aurora went to her knees beside the bed, whispering, "Lord, give me strength. Even if I never have a child, help me keep my faith." For a moment, sunlight touched her face like an answer she didn't yet understand. That evening, as she folded his laundry, Aurora noticed a lipstick stain on his white shirt. Deep red, not her shade. Her hand trembled. A faint perfume, vanilla blossom, not hers either. The camera closes in on her eyes. Shock, confusion, quiet denial. Then slowly she places the shirt back into the closet and whispers, "Maybe it's nothing. Maybe." But the faint smile on her lips fades as the light outside dims. Somewhere deep inside, she already knows. Something is about to break. The office door clicks shut behind him. Liam Sterling loosened his tie, his heartbeat heavy with guilt he refused to name. He was supposed to be working late, but this wasn't work. This was Sierra Thorne, his marketing manager, already waiting inside, heels off, perfume heavy in the air, lips curved in that dangerous smile that made him forget who he was. "Rough day?" she asked softly, stepping closer. He nodded. "Home isn't home anymore." She tilted her head. "Maybe because you're living with a ghost, Liam. A woman who prays more than she lives." Their laughter echoed like a sin bouncing off glass walls. Sierra placed a cup of steaming coffee in his hand, brushed her fingers across his knuckles. "You deserve to feel alive again," she whispered. Years earlier, Metropolis. 2 years ago, a business conference. Champagne in tall glasses. Lights reflecting off skyscrapers. Liam had been lonely, frustrated, tired of the same quiet dinners and cold silences. Sierra had been bold. Red lips, gold dress, sharp mind. That night, under city lights, he let temptation win. Now in his office, she leaned closer, her voice dripping with poison's sweet comfort. "Imagine being with someone who wants you, Liam. Someone who believes you're meant for more than small-town dinners and half-cold prayers." He didn't stop her. In her words, he felt powerful again. Across town, Aurora sat alone at the dining table, hands folded over the untouched food she made for him. Every night, she waited, candles lit, hope burning slow. Sometimes she replayed old voice notes he used to send back in the beginning. "I can't wait to see you again, Aura. You make life make sense." Her eyes filled. When did I stop making sense? The house was silent, except for the clock ticking. Cruel, loud, constant. A wife waiting, a husband betraying. 2 worlds drifting apart under the same roof. It was almost 11 p.m. when Liam came home that night, smelling faintly of vanilla blossom perfume. He dropped his briefcase carelessly and went straight to the bathroom. Aurora stood in the bathroom hallway, watching his reflection through the mirror. The way he avoided her eyes, the way he smiled at his phone when he thought she wasn't looking, something felt wrong. Her heart said, "Don't look," but her soul said, "Get back in the room. You must know." It's a big day in the natural. Later, as he stepped out to answer a phone call, she walked quietly toward the guest room. The door was slightly open. She heard his voice, low, laughing. Then Sierra's voice came through the speaker, sweet and sharp as honey, hiding venom. "Once she's gone, everything will be ours. The house, the cars, the accounts. Don't worry, Liam. She's too naive to fight back." Aurora froze. The words struck like a blade. Her breath caught. She pressed her hand over her mouth so he wouldn't hear her gasp. Her knees went weak, but she refused to fall. She stepped back slowly away from the door, slowly trying not to make any sound, every heartbeat echoing like thunder. His stomach felt sick, like she might vomit. Her mind flashed through every morning she prayed for him, every tear she swallowed in silence, all for a man who now planned to erase her. The next evening, Liam sat at the dinner table with papers in front of him. His face was calm, his tone cold. "Aurora, I've made my decision. I want a divorce." "Because I can't give you a child," she whispered. "Because I need a woman who isn't stuck in pity." Her fork slipped from her hand. The sound of metal on tile filled the room like a gunshot. She didn't argue. She didn't cry. She only looked at him, really looked, and saw nothing left of the man she once saved. He left the papers on the table and walked away without looking back. She sat there, trembling, then reached for a pen and signed her name with shaking fingers. "I gave him everything," she whispered, tears sliding down her cheeks. "Even my prayers." The camera pans across the table, the signed divorce papers beside a framed wedding photo, its face distant, even in memory. Moments later, she ran to the bathroom, her body shaking with nausea. Her reflection stared back, pale, tears streaming, broken, but something deeper was happening inside her that she couldn't yet see. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. Somewhere in that storm, new life had begun. She fell to her knees beside the sink, whispering through tears, "Lord, what is happening to me?" By morning, a doctor's quiet smile would change everything. The barren wife was carrying not one, but 2 lives that would rewrite her story forever. The rain wouldn't stop that morning. Heavy drops drummed against the window as Aurora Sterling sat in the small clinic, her fingers twisting the hem of her coat. Her heart pounded louder than the thunder outside. The nurse had said, "Dr. Olson will see you soon," but soon felt like forever. She could still hear Liam's words from 2 nights ago. Cold, sharp, final. "I'm done pretending. I need a real family." Each syllable had cut her open like glass. Now she sat alone on the edge of a white chair, trembling. Her stomach had been twisting for days, waves of nausea rising every morning. She had thought it was heartbreak making her sick, but heartbreak didn't make you faint in the kitchen. The door opened. Dr. Olson, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes, smiled softly. "Mrs. Sterling, we finished your tests. Please sit down." Aurora's throat went dry. "It's nothing serious, right?" The doctor's smile grew wider, almost tender. "It's not serious. It's a miracle." For a moment, Aurora didn't understand. Dr. Olson turned the screen toward her, showing a black and white image. 2 tiny flickers of light pulsed in the center. "Mrs. Sterling," she said gently, "you're 6 weeks pregnant with twins." Aurora blinked, confused. "That's not possible. They said I couldn't conceive a child." Her voice broke. Dr. Olson reached for her hand. "Every report can be wrong when heaven decides otherwise." Tears rushed down Aurora's cheeks. She covered her mouth, choking on a laugh that sounded half like a sob. 2 heartbeats, 2 chances at life, 2 answers to years of prayer. Her mind raced. The nights she begged God for 1 child, the pills, the failed treatments, the doctors' hopeless faces. Liam's silence. Now the same body he called empty held 2 living hearts. She stepped out of the clinic into the soft drizzle, holding the ultrasound photo to her chest as if it were the most precious thing in the world. For the first time in years, she smiled, not for anyone, not for appearance, but for herself. She walked slowly, her shoes splashing through puddles, the city lights blurred through the rain, and her reflection on the glass window looked different, calmer, steadier, stronger. "You'll never be unwanted," she whispered to herself. "Not you, not either of you." Every tear she had ever cried began to make sense. The betrayal had broken her heart, but it had also opened a door she never saw coming. She remembered her mother's voice, soft and distant from when she was a child. "When the world shuts its doors, Aura, heaven opens windows no one can close." Her mother had been right. Heaven was opening one right now. She looked down at the sonogram again. 2 little lights beating like hope reborn. A quiet fire burned in her chest. Not rage, not revenge, just power. Quiet, steady, unstoppable power. As Aurora crossed the street, the wind tore the paper bag from her hand. Inside was her wedding ring, the same one Liam had left on the kitchen counter. It rolled across the wet pavement and disappeared into a storm drain. She stopped watching it vanish and whispered, "Goodbye." The camera pulls back slowly, Aurora standing alone in the rain, hand resting protectively over her stomach. She didn't know it yet, but destiny was already preparing her next visitor. A lawyer with an envelope sealed in gold, carrying her late mother's name. Before the week ended, a single letter would arrive. A letter that would turn her heartbreak into a $200 million inheritance and her pain into power. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, please take a second to do it now. Every click, every share, every comment helps us keep telling stories that give strength to women and children who've been broken, forgotten, or silenced. When you subscribe, you're not just supporting a channel. You're standing beside survivors, saying their stories matter. Turn on your notification bell so you never miss a story that could change a life. And in the comments, tell us, where are you watching from? And what part of this story spoke to your heart? The knock came like fate itself. 3 firm, measured taps against the door of her tiny apartment. Aurora Vance, still holding the ultrasound photo of her twins, startled. She wasn't expecting anyone. Boxes filled the floor, evidence of a life being quietly packed away. She opened the door to find a tall, gray-haired man in a black suit, holding a leather briefcase and an envelope sealed with a golden crest. "Mrs. Sterling?" he asked politely. "Yes," she replied, confused. "My name is Mr. Hayes. I represent the estate of your late mother, Aurora Vance." The name hit her like thunder. Her knees weakened. "My mother," she whispered. He nodded. "She left something for you, a sealed letter and documents that were never to be opened until now." He stepped inside and carefully placed the envelope on her small wooden table. The golden crest shimmered under the fading sunset. A dove surrounded by olive branches. Mr. Hayes's tone grew formal. "Your mother left explicit instructions. This letter and its contents were to be delivered only if you face betrayal and loss, which she somehow predicted." Aurora tore the seal with trembling hands. Inside lay a neatly folded letter in her mother's handwriting. Elegant, confident, timeless. Her eyes filled before she even read a word. "My dearest Aurora, if you are reading this, you have tasted heartbreak. I know the pain well because I lived it too. Never forget, betrayal doesn't destroy you, my child. It reveals who you truly are." A tear fell onto the paper. "You are the rightful heir to the Vance Trust, an inheritance built from the company your father left me afore he passed when you were 12. I rebuilt it alone through nights of tears and silence, so you would never beg for love or respect. But I feared your husband's world would not value you for your heart. So I hid what I own, waiting for the day you would rise. Aurora gasped, covering her mouth. $200 million. Mr. Hayes nodded. Your mother owned controlling shares in Vance Global, a global investment company. You, Miss Vance, are now its owner. Aurora sat down slowly, surrounded by the legal documents Mr. Hayes laid out. Property deeds, stock certificates, land titles, all under her name. Her mother had known what would come. She had planned every step. Aurora was 12 again, watching her father's casket lower into the ground. Her mother's hand squeezed hers tight. When the world turns cold, Aura, learn to build your own fire. That same night, Ilara had vowed to protect her daughter's future, even beyond the grave. Now, Aurora understood her mother had seen Liam and his family's pride coming long before she did. They mocked her for being a nobody, never knowing she was the daughter of a woman who owned empires. Tears streamed freely down her face, but these were not tears of sorrow. They were tears of awakening. For the first time, Aurora saw herself not as the broken wife Liam discarded, but as the woman her mother had raised, strong, wise, and destined to rise. Mr. Hayes packed up his briefcase and paused at the door. One final note, Miss Vance, he said, his tone lower now. Your ex-husband's company, Sterling Dynamics, is struggling. If you choose to act, the timing is perfect. Aurora glanced at the business card he handed her, then down at the ultrasound photo in the inheritance paper side by side. Life and legacy, side by side. Her tears dried. Her expression turned calm, steady, dangerous. Then let the storm begin, she whispered. Outside, thunder rolled louder, closer, as if the heavens themselves were bearing witness. By morning, the woman the world once pitied would vanish. In her place would rise Aurora Vance, the silent heir who bought everything her betrayers ever owned. The morning after the storm, Aurora Vance stood before a tall glass window, watching sunlight crawl across the skyline. The city looked different now, louder, smaller, almost trembling beneath her calm gaze. She wasn't the woman who begged anymore. That woman had vanished the night she opened her mother's letter. Now the only sound was the hum of destiny. The phone on her table buzzed. Your account has been verified, Miss Vance, her financial advisor said. The inheritance has cleared. All $200 million. The number didn't shock her. What shocked her was the peace she felt. For the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid of being alone. Later that day, Aurora entered the marble hall of Vance Global. Her mother's company, now hers. The employees stared. Some whispered, she looks just like Ilara Vance. She didn't respond. She moved with quiet grace, like a storm in heels. Inside the boardroom, Mr. Hayes waited with a team of lawyers and investment analysts. The first step, he said gently, is securing your power. He handed her a folder. Inside were acquisition options. One name circled in red. Sterling Dynamics. Her hand froze. Her ex-husband's empire, his pride, his everything. Can I buy it anonymously? She asked. Mr. Hayes smiled slightly. Through layered trusts, yes, we can purchase shares quietly until you own enough to control it. A pause, a breath. Then start today, Aurora said softly. No noise, no mercy. That night she sat alone in her penthouse office, overlooking the glittering city. In her hand was a framed ultrasound of her twins. They took your mother for granted, she whispered to the photo. They won't take you. Flashback, the warning that became a weapon. Her mother's voice echoed from memory. Power doesn't always roar, Aura. Sometimes it whispers and waits. She smiled faintly. Her mother had built an empire from pain. Now she would build an empire from betrayal. Each transaction she signed was not just a financial move. It was a piece of her story being rewritten. Over the next weeks, she acquired 40% of Sterling Dynamics through shell companies and private trusts. The market dipped. The news called it a mystery investor surge. Liam Sterling never suspected his downfall had his ex-wife's name written on every hidden signature. One afternoon, her advisor said, "If the market drops 1% more, you'll control everything he owns." Aurora looked out at the horizon, her reflection cold and beautiful in the glass. "Then let it drop," she whispered. In that moment, the audience sees the full transformation. The quiet wife, reborn as a calculating heir. No anger, no revenge speech, just calm, intelligent precision. Later that night, Aurora watched a live broadcast of Liam and Sierra at a business gala. Reporters surrounded them, cameras flashing. Liam bragged about his company's strong future, his smile bright, his confidence blind. Aurora turned off the TV slowly, her reflection fading into darkness. "Enjoy it," she murmured. "It's your last celebration." Lightning flickered outside, a flash of silver cutting through the night, mirroring her eyes. While he celebrated his new marriage under golden lights, she was already holding the papers that would make her his silent boss and his biggest nightmare. The music was loud enough to shake the chandeliers, laughter, applause, flashing lights. The world called it the wedding of the year. At the center of it all stood Liam Sterling in a designer tuxedo, smiling like a man who believed he had conquered life itself. Beside him, Sierra Thorne, glowing in a gold silk gown, lifted her hand to the crowd as photographers fought for the best shot. To everyone watching, it looked like victory. But inside, victory had never felt emptier. As the priest said, "You may kiss the bride," Liam leaned in, but the crowd's applause couldn't drown out the voice in his head, the quiet one that whispered Aurora's name. He blinked, forcing it away. Sierra's perfume burned stronger, heavier. Reporters screamed questions. "Mr. Sterling, what's next for your company?" Liam grinned, mask perfect. "Bigger, better things." But behind the charm hid cracks, unpaid loans, restless investors, silent fear. He knew the company's numbers were sinking, but tonight wasn't about truth. It was about pretending he had everything. Across town in a small penthouse, softly lit by golden lamps, Aurora Vance watched the live stream from her tablet. Her belly had begun to show now, her hand resting protectively over it. 2 heartbeats moved under her palm, reminders of what he threw away. The video lagged slightly, but she could still see Liam smiling, champagne raised, arrogance dripping from his voice. She remembered a night months earlier when she'd worn a simple black dress to a corporate dinner. Sierra had accidentally spilled red wine across it. Liam had laughed it off, whispering, "Try to be more careful next time, Aurora. These events matter." That was the night she realized she was married to an image, not a man. Now, she watched that same image kiss another woman on live TV, and for the first time, she felt nothing but calm. She reached out, turned the volume down, and whispered, "Enjoy your crown of glass, Liam. It's already cracking." The reporter's voice echoed faintly from the screen. "There are rumors of instability at Sterling Dynamics. Sources say a mysterious investor has been buying large shares quietly." Sierra's smile flickered for just a second before she caught herself. Liam wrapped his arm around her waist and laughed into the microphone. "Rumors are for the poor," he said proudly. Aurora leaned back in her chair, a faint smile playing on her lips. The mystery investor was her, and soon his arrogance would introduce him to humility. As the wedding ended, fireworks exploded across the sky, red gold, blindingly bright. The camera panned up to capture the spectacle, but inside the Sterling penthouse, the sound of fireworks masked another noise. The vibration of a phone left on the table. A new alert blinked across Liam's financial dashboard. Sterling Dynamics stock down 7%. A silent notification unnoticed in celebration, the first crack in his empire. Meanwhile, Aurora whispered to her unborn children, "They'll see who really won." Beside him, Sierra Thorne, glowing in a gold silk gown, lifted her hand to the crowd as photographers fought for the best shot. To everyone watching, it looked like victory. But inside, victory had never felt emptier. As the priest said, "You may kiss the bride," Liam leaned in, but the crowd's applause couldn't drown out the voice in his head, the quiet one that whispered Aurora's name. He blinked, forcing it away. Sierra's perfume burned stronger, heavier. Reporters screamed questions. "Mr. Sterling, what's next for your company?" Liam grinned, mask perfect. "Bigger, better things." But behind the charm hid cracks, unpaid loans, restless investors, silent fear. He knew the company's numbers were sinking, but tonight wasn't about truth. It was about pretending he had everything. Across town, in a small penthouse, softly lit by golden lamps, Aurora Vance watched the live stream from her tablet. Her belly had begun to show now, her hand resting protectively over it. 2 heartbeats moved under her palm, reminders of what he threw away. The video lagged slightly, but she could still see Liam smiling, champagne raised, arrogance dripping from his voice. She remembered a night months earlier when she'd worn a simple black dress to a corporate dinner. Sierra had accidentally spilled red wine across it. Liam had laughed it off, whispering, "Try to be more careful next time, Aurora. These events matter." That was the night she realized she was married to an image, not a man. Now she watched that same image kiss another woman on live TV. And for the first time, she felt nothing but calm. She reached out, turned the volume down, and whispered, "Enjoy your crown of glass, Liam. It's already cracking." The reporter's voice echoed faintly from the screen. "There are rumors of instability at Sterling Dynamics. Sources say a mysterious investor has been buying large shares quietly." Sierra's smile flickered for just a second before she caught herself. Liam wrapped his arm around her waist and laughed into the microphone. "Rumors are for the poor," he said proudly. Aurora leaned back in her chair, a faint smile playing on her lips. The mystery investor was her, and soon his arrogance would introduce him to humility. As the wedding ended, fireworks exploded across the sky, red gold, blindingly bright. The camera panned up to capture the spectacle. But inside the Sterling penthouse, the sound of fireworks masked another noise. The vibration of a phone left on the table. A new alert blinked across Liam's financial dashboard. Sterling Dynamics stock down 7%. A silent notification unnoticed in celebration. The first crack in his empire. Meanwhile, Aurora whispered to her unborn children, "They'll see who really won." ... As thunder echoed faintly in the distance, Aurora turned off the lights, leaving only the glow of the twin cribs behind her, symbols of life, legacy, and war reborn. By the next evening, cracks would begin to show in the golden couple's perfect marriage. And the same storm she faced alone would now come for them. The night was supposed to be perfect, But inside the penthouse that overlooked the whole city, perfection was cracking. The sound of breaking glass echoed through the living room as Sierra Sterling slammed a champagne flute against the marble floor. Her gold gown shimmered under the city lights, but her eyes burned with rage. "You promised me luxury, Liam," she shouted. "I didn't marry a broke executive." Liam Sterling, loosened tie, unshaven jaw, snapped back. "You think I planned this? The investors are panicking. Stocks drop all the time." But she wasn't listening. She was pacing, angry, scared. "Do you know what people are saying about us? That you married me after bankrupting your wife? That's the only reason we could afford this penthouse." Her words cut deeper than she realized. He grabbed his whiskey glass and stared at the skyline, trying to drown in its lights. The walls that once echoed laughter now carried arguments. Even the maids had stopped making eye contact. They had seen too much. Liam ran a hand through his hair, exhausted. "I'm working on a solution," Sierra scoffed. "You please. You can't even control your company anymore." A year ago, Liam had told her at that same window, "Stick with me, Sierra. I'll make you richer than you ever dreamed." She had smiled, believing his confidence. Now all she could see was a man drowning in debts and denial. "You used to talk about power," she hissed. "Now you can't even pay for the flowers in the lobby." Liam turned sharply. "Watch your mouth." Her lips curved into a cruel smile. "What will you do, Liam? Divorce me too." The room fell silent. Even he didn't have an answer. When Sierra finally stormed into the bedroom, Liam sank into the couch. He loosened his tie completely, rubbing his forehead. The echo of his past life haunted him. Aurora's gentle smile, her prayers, her patience. She never raised her voice, never mocked him. For the first time, regret flickered. Small, brief, but real. He took his phone, scrolling through old photos till one appeared. Aurora at the beach, sunlight on her face. He exhaled shakily. "You really did love me," he murmured. But pride kept him from saying more. Meanwhile, in the bedroom, Sierra was on her phone, whispering sharply. "Yes, Adam, I told you he's collapsing. If you want Sterling's project, now's your time." She ended the call quickly when she heard footsteps. When Liam entered, she smiled sweetly. "Just ordering flowers, darling." He didn't answer. He didn't believe her. The distance between them had turned into a canyon, and both could feel the ground cracking beneath. The next morning, Liam woke up to 20 missed calls, emails, alerts, notifications flashing red. Sterling Dynamics stock falls 15% in one night. Investors withdraw millions. He stumbled back, eyes wide. Sierra's perfume lingered in the air, but her suitcase was gone. So was she. On the counter lay a single note. "I don't stay with sinking ships. S." The camera pans to Liam's reflection in the window, alone, broken, watching his empire crumble. While he struggled to save what was left, a new name was already rising inside his boardroom, a silent investor whose signature would soon end his reign forever. The wind howled through the open balcony doors of Aurora Vance's penthouse. Papers fluttered across the desk like restless ghosts, contracts, financial reports, and old files she had collected from Vance Global archives. She stood there barefoot, one hand on her stomach, eyes locked on a single folder she hadn't touched in years. It was labeled Private Records 2016, the year she married Liam. A chill crawled up her spine. Something inside her whispered, "Open it." She flipped the folder open and gasped. Inside were old financial statements and wire transfers, all signed under her name, but she hadn't signed any of them. They were forged. Large amounts of money, over $2 million had been transferred from her late mother's foundation to Sterling Dynamics 6 years ago. The handwriting was a perfect copy of hers. Her heart pounded. No, this can't be. She read further and found an email printout between Liam and a bank officer. Make sure it's done under her name. My wife doesn't need to know. It's all family money anyway. Her hand shook so badly the paper slipped from her fingers. The man she once fed, clothed, and prayed for had stolen from her mother's trust long before the divorce. Suddenly, her memory dragged her back to a night years ago. Liam had come home drunk, bragging about a big deal that would save his company. She had kissed his forehead, proud of him. "You work too hard," she had said lovingly. He smiled and whispered, "Don't worry, Aura. One day you'll thank me." Now she understood. That deal was her money. Aurora sank into the chair, her fingers tightening around the forged documents. Tears filled her eyes, not from heartbreak this time, but from fury mixed with clarity. Every humiliation, every lie, every cruel word finally made sense. He hadn't just broken her heart. He had built his success on her stolen inheritance. The camera closes in on her face. No tears fall now, only calm. That calm before a woman's storm. "So this was your empire," she whispered, "built with my mother's blood." She looked around the room, the bookshelves, the photos, the gentle nursery waiting for her twins, and something inside her clicked. It wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about justice, legacy, truth. Her phone buzzed, a text from Mr. Hayes. "The Vance Trust Group has officially completed your acquisition requests. You now own 40% of Sterling Dynamics through silent shares." Her lips parted slightly. 40%, almost control. Destiny was aligning itself. She gathered the forged files into a single envelope and whispered, "The truth will speak in his own boardroom." Outside, thunder cracked. Lightning illuminated her face, calm, radiant, untouchable. She placed the documents in her safe, turned off the lights, and stood by the window as rain began to fall. "You wanted everything, Liam," she said softly. "Now you'll see what everything costs." The sound of thunder grew louder, not from the sky, but from the war she was about to bring. By sunrise, the board of Sterling Dynamics would welcome a mysterious new investor, one whose signature Liam would recognize far too late. The boardroom was silent, too silent. A long, glossy table stretched across the room, reflecting the worried faces of Sterling Dynamics' top executives. The air smelled of fear and burnt coffee. Liam Sterling walked in wearing his last clean suit, eyes red from sleepless nights. He adjusted his tie, pretending to still be in control. But the tremor in his hands betrayed him. "Let's begin," he said sharply. "We need new investors or this company won't survive another quarter." The financial director hesitated. "Sir, we've already found one. A large silent partner just bought 40% of the shares through multiple trusts." Liam's head snapped up. 40%. Who? The lights dimmed slightly as the projector flickered on, showing the name of the holding company, Vance Trust Group. For a second, Liam's heart stopped. The name felt familiar, hauntingly familiar. He swallowed hard, his voice thin. Who owns it? The finance director clicked again, and a digital signature appeared on the screen. Aurora Vance. The room erupted in murmurs. Liam stood frozen, color draining from his face. "That can't be right," he whispered. "She doesn't have that kind of money." The CFO cleared his throat nervously. "According to the documents, she inherited Vance Global 2 months ago. She's one of the wealthiest private shareholders in the city." Liam's mind spun. Vance Global, he had heard that name before, whispered in old news articles connected to powerful investors. And now it belonged to the woman he had thrown away. He sank slowly into his chair, speechless. Flashbacks hit him like bullets. Aurora packing his lunch every morning. Her smile when he called her my lucky charm. Her prayers whispered at night when she thought he was asleep. And then her face the night he said, "I need a real family." Now that same woman was his company's largest owner, his ex-wife, his silent boss. The irony burned like acid. The finance head interrupted softly. She hasn't attended meetings yet. She prefers to remain behind the scenes for now. Liam clenched his fists, jaw tight. She's not behind this. Someone's manipulating her. But deep down, he knew this wasn't manipulation. This was justice in heels. As the meeting ended, Liam walked out to the balcony, wind whipping his hair. The city below looked smaller than ever. He lit a cigarette, something he hadn't done in years, and stared into the distance. "Aurora," he muttered almost like a prayer. "What are you planning?" He didn't notice his secretary quietly watching him from the doorway, recording his meltdown for the press. Back at her penthouse, Aurora Vance sat calmly at her desk, laptop open. On the screen, a live feed of the Sterling boardroom showed Liam's reaction. Stunned, pale, humiliated. Her lips curved into a soft smile, equal parts sadness and strength. "You once said I couldn't build anything," she whispered. "Now you work for me." She closed her laptop gently. In the reflection of the glass window behind her, lightning flashed, bright, sharp, and endless. The storm had officially begun. By the next sunrise, Aurora would begin building her secret alliances, and Liam's downfall would no longer be silent. The sound of rain against glass filled the night. Inside her penthouse, Aurora Vance stood before a wide table scattered with documents, contracts, old receipts, corporate files, and photographs of men who had betrayed her. The golden glow from a single desk lamp lit her face, revealing a calmness that came only from pain turned into purpose. The storm outside wasn't half as powerful as the one she was building inside that room. "Tonight," she whispered, "the web begins." A knock echoed through the quiet. Mr. Hayes, her late mother's lawyer, entered carrying a thick brown folder. Behind him came Jordan Wells, a sharp-eyed forensic accountant, and Alex Finch, a data analyst who once worked under Liam. They were the first to join her secret circle. "Everything we need is here," Mr. Hayes said, placing the folder down. Jordan opened her laptop, her voice crisp. "I've tracked every illegal transaction Liam approved in the past 5 years. Money laundering, tax evasion, even forged property signatures." Aurora leaned forward, her expression unreadable. "And the proof, all here." Alex replied, sliding over a flash drive. "Emails, voice notes, hidden accounts. Once this goes public, he'll lose everything." For a moment, silence. The storm outside roared, lightning flashing through the windows like a drum roll for justice. Aurora sat back slowly, breathing in. She could see her reflection in the glass, calm, composed, untouchable. She remembered sitting on her mother's lap as a little girl, listening to her soft voice. "Never fight anger with anger, Aura. Fight it with truth. Let truth do the cutting." Now she finally understood what those words meant. This wasn't revenge. It was revelation. "We don't destroy him with violence," Aurora said quietly. "We destroy him with evidence." Jordan glanced up. "And when that happens," Aurora's voice softened, "when that happens, the world will finally see who he really is." She looked at her team, the people who believed in her strength. They didn't see a broken wife anymore. They saw a leader. Alex projected a chart of names and arrows linking each corrupt investor to Liam's accounts. Once we leak this, everyone connected to him will pull out, he said. Mr. Hayes nodded. It will take down his entire circle. Aurora touched the edge of the table, her eyes glowing in the low light. Good. Then we start tomorrow. She stood, straightened her blazer, and walked toward the balcony as thunder cracked again. The storm lit up the city below, a city that had once pitied her and was about to kneel before her. Before leaving, Mr. Hayes paused. There's one last thing, he said quietly. Liam and Sierra are hosting a major investor gala this weekend. Every powerful name in the city will be there. Aurora turned her head slightly, the faintest smile touching her lips. Perfect. Let's give them a show they'll never forget. The lightning flared again, casting her shadow long across the floor. The silhouette of a queen, reclaiming her throne. At that gala, the woman he once called weak would walk through the doors, radiant and uninvited, holding the truth that would end his empire. The chandeliers burned brighter than the stars that night. Gold curtains shimmered, champagne flowed, and laughter filled the grand ballroom of the Regal Plaza, where Liam Sterling and Sierra Sterling hosted their first investor gala as husband and wife. Every major figure in the business world was there. Journalists, CEOs, reporters, all desperate to see if Liam could save his collapsing company. On stage, Liam smiled into the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight marks a new beginning for Sterling Dynamics, a future of confidence, growth, and partnership. Applause followed, loud, hollow, empty. But as he spoke, the main doors of the ballroom opened slowly. A wave of silence swept through the crowd. Aurora Vance had arrived. She stepped in under the chandeliers like light itself, dressed in an ivory satin gown that shimmered softly with each step. Her long hair curled over her shoulders, her baby bump showing just enough to whisper, "Miracle, not shame." The cameras flashed. The crowd gasped. Sierra's face went pale. Liam's smile froze mid-sentence. The reporters whispered, "Isn't that his ex-wife? She looks glowing. Didn't they say she couldn't have kids?" Aurora smiled faintly and walked toward the stage, every click of her heels echoing like judgment. Liam's mind spiraled. He remembered the nights she waited for him to come home, the meals she cooked that went cold, the prayers she whispered when he mocked her faith. Now that same woman stood radiant before him, not as a wife, but as power itself. She reached the stage and looked directly at him. "Relax, Liam," she said softly into the microphone. "I'm not here as a guest. I'm here as an investor." The audience gasped again. Liam blinked, confused, then panicked. "Investor? What are you talking about?" The host, trembling, turned to the large screen behind them. The company's new merger announcement flickered to life. Sterling Dynamics merges with Vance Trust Group. The name Vance Trust Group glowed across the wall in golden letters. Then came the signature Aurora Vance, majority shareholder. The ballroom erupted. Journalists shouted. Cameras flashed. Sierra dropped her champagne glass, the sound of glass shattering, echoing through the silence. Liam turned pale, whispering, "No, this isn't real." Aurora stepped closer, voice calm and cutting. "It's very real. I now own what you once stole and more." A flashback flickered in his mind. Her quiet voice the day he left her. "One day, Liam, you'll look for me and I'll be unreachable." Now that day had come. He tried to speak, but the words died in his throat. The cameras caught everything. The shock, the shame, the defeat. As security guided her to the VIP section, the host's voice trembled through the mic. Please welcome the new majority shareholder of Sterling Dynamics, Miss Aurora Vance. The applause was thunderous. Liam stood frozen under the lights, his face a mix of disbelief and dread. Across the ballroom, Aurora sat calmly, hands resting on her belly. 2 lives moved inside her, silent witnesses to the fall of a man who once called her barren. She whispered softly, "Some losses are blessings." The camera pans to Liam's trembling hand, gripping his glass, shattering it in his palm. Blood, shock, silence. By dawn, his empire would collapse completely, and the woman he left for power would betray him the same way he once betrayed love. The night after the gala was chaos. Rain hammered the city, flashing lights from news vans painted red across the wet streets. Inside the parking lot of the Regal Plaza, Liam Sterling stumbled out of his car, drenched, desperate, broken. Cameras followed him. Microphones shouted his name. "Mr. Sterling, how does it feel to lose your company to your ex-wife? Is it true you forged her mother's estate? Did Aurora Vance fund your empire all along?" He pushed through the crowd, face pale and hollow, the man who once mocked others, now trembling under the storm. "Sierra," he shouted as he reached her, standing by their car, her golden gown soaked from the rain. But she wasn't crying. She was furious. Her eyes were sharp, not with pain, but calculation. "You said she was weak," she screamed. "You said she was nothing." Liam tried to reach for her arm. "Please, Sierra, we can fix this." She shoved him back. "Fix? You've destroyed everything. The media is tearing us apart. I'm finished because of you." The flash of cameras caught the moment she threw her engagement ring at him. It bounced once, twice, before disappearing down the drain. The same way he had thrown away his wife. Now life was throwing him away. Liam stood frozen, soaked, ringless, speechless. In that moment, memories flooded like lightning strikes. Aurora, ironing his shirts, praying for him, smiling through pain, whispering, "One day you'll see." Now he saw. Too late. "Sierra, please," he begged, voice cracking. "Don't leave me like this." She laughed bitterly, stepping into a waiting black car. "I already did," she said. "And someone richer is waiting." The car door slammed. Through the tinted window, Liam saw a familiar face. Adam Kent, the rival CEO Sierra had been secretly messaging for months. The betrayal hit like a bullet. The car drove away, taillights fading into the storm. Liam collapsed to his knees, hands covering his face, the sound of thunder drowning his sobs. By morning, headlines exploded across every news outlet. Ex-wife exposes forgery scandal. Sterling Dynamics under investigation. Sierra Hart leaves husband for rival CEO. Aurora Vance named youngest female billionaire shareholder. Reporters called it karma. Investors called it justice. And Liam, he called it a nightmare he couldn't wake up from. Inside a dark hotel room, Liam sat alone, hair disheveled, hands shaking as he read the final notice from the auditors. Sterling Dynamics frozen accounts. Fraud investigation pending. He let out a dry laugh, empty and broken. Everything, his money, his status, his marriage, gone. As lightning illuminated the window, he whispered her name, Aurora. The camera pans across the table, a photo of them from happier days. Her smile bright, his distant. A single tear hits the photo. In the distance, the faint cry of newborns echoes like fate calling his name, though he doesn't yet know it. While Liam's world crumbled in darkness, Aurora's world was lighting up with new life. 2 cries that would carry her name and his legacy forever. Thunder rolled softly outside the hospital windows. Inside, everything was calm. Bright lights, gentle voices, and the rhythmic sound of 2 tiny heartbeats. Aurora Vance lay on the hospital bed, pale but glowing, her eyes wet with tears of joy. In her arms were her twin sons, small, perfect, and breathing softly against her chest. 2 miracles born from pain, 2 proofs that heaven had never forgotten her. The doctor smiled gently. "They're strong, Miss Vance. You did beautifully." She looked down at them, whispering their names through trembling lips. Ethan and Owen, one named after her father, the other after the strength she had found in herself. Her voice cracked as she said it. "You're my beginning, not my ending." Outside her hospital room, news cameras flashed in the hallway. Journalists desperate to capture a glimpse of the woman who had just turned heartbreak into power. The headlines already read, "Ex-wife who lost everything now becomes billionaire CEO and mother of twins." In another part of the city, Liam Sterling sat alone in a dark office, his phone buzzing non-stop with messages from lawyers, reporters, and debt collectors. He hadn't slept in 2 days. He had lost his company, his money, and his pride. And now he had lost his name. But that morning, as he scrolled through the newsfeed, his trembling hand froze. There she was, Aurora, holding 2 babies that looked hauntingly familiar. His heart stopped. "No," he whispered. "They're mine." When he reached her room, she was sitting upright, sunlight glowing around her like a crown. If his pride was gone, for the first time he felt small. He drove straight to the hospital, his suit wrinkled, his pride gone. She looked calm, untouchable, like someone finally at peace. "Aurora," his voice broke. "Please, I've lost everything. I was wrong. I don't want money. I need you." He dropped to his knees beside her bed, tears streaming down his face. Reporters, hearing the commotion, turned their cameras toward the door. Flashes filled the room as the world watched the once powerful Liam Sterling kneel before the woman he had destroyed. Aurora's eyes softened, but her voice stayed steady. "You didn't lose me, Liam. You gave me away." She handed him a photograph, a picture of the twins smiling in her arms. "Meet the heirs you never wanted." He looked at the picture, broken. Before he could speak again, hospital security stepped forward. "Miss Vance asked for privacy, sir." As Liam was escorted out, he turned one last time. She wasn't crying. She was smiling. Not in pride, but in peace. 1 year later, the woman he once abandoned would stand on a stage again. Not for revenge, but to give back to others what pain had taught her. The power to rise. The ballroom was filled with golden light. A year had passed since that hospital night. A year of peace, growth, and rebirth. Now Aurora Vance stood on a grand stage wearing an elegant white gown, the logo of the Vance Foundation glowing behind her. The cameras flashed, the air buzzed with applause. She wasn't there as someone's ex-wife anymore. She was there as a woman who turned heartbreak into hope. "Good evening," she said softly into the microphone. "Tonight isn't about pain. It's about purpose." The audience leaned closer. Her voice carried warmth, not anger. "A year ago, I lost everything I thought defined me. My marriage, my peace, my name. But sometimes when life breaks you, it's not punishment, it's preparation." Behind her, a large screen displayed images of smiling single mothers, children in shelters, and women rebuilding their lives through the foundation she created. $20 million donated that night would fund fertility research and housing for struggling mothers. The crowd erupted in applause, but Aurora only smiled humbly, tears glimmering in her eyes. At the corner of the room, unseen by most, Liam Sterling stood among the guests. He wore a simple suit now. No arrogance, no entourage. When his eyes met hers across the crowd, the noise of the gala faded to silence. He saw the first time he met her in college. Her laughter under the rain, her kindness, her faith. He had traded all that for greed. And now he understood what true wealth had always been. Aurora's heart softened. She saw not the man who betrayed her, but the man life had punished enough. He looked smaller now, broken, but finally humble. She stepped down from the stage and walked toward him. The crowd parted in silence. He bowed his head as she stopped in front of him. "You came," she said quietly. "To say I'm sorry," he whispered, "and to say you were right." Her eyes filled, but didn't spill. "No, Liam," she said gently. "Life was right. I just listened sooner than you did." They stood in silence for a long moment before she turned away. At the edge of the room, her twins, Ethan and Owen, ran toward her, giggling. She knelt, scooping them into her arms, as flashbulbs captured the moment. The woman once mocked for being barren, now holding 2 lives the world called impossible. Liam watched, with a trembling smile. For the first time, he didn't feel envy. He felt peace. As Aurora walked back toward the stage, the camera caught her final words. "He divorced me to find freedom," she said softly, smiling through tears. "But he never knew I carried both life and legacy inside me. Sometimes God hides crowns in pain." The audience rose to their feet, applauding. Among them, Liam clapped too, quietly, sincerely, tears finally falling down his face. The spotlight dimmed on Aurora and her children as the music swelled. She lifted her head toward the lights and whispered, "This is only the beginning, because every ending bursts a new story for all of us." And somewhere in that same city, another woman's heartbreak was just about to begin. Thank you for watching.